Hi, we're going to pick up right where we left off. The day I was crucified, as told by Christ himself. Jean Edwards, and we are on chapter 16. Blasphemer, they called me. The Sandrian, as one, began to pelt me with questions. I answered not a word. Finally, the inquisition ended. I was then turned over to the temple guard. Murder by slow torture had begun. Your soldiers must understand that this man must be dead before midnight, ordered Caiaphas. Beat this man and beat him well. Nor do I want any pity shown. Make sure that he is even more grotesque looking than now. When you are finished with the whip, take him to Pilate. I thought he had already been beaten, murmured another of the guards. Suddenly I was hit with a terrible blow that knocked me across the room, then another, then another. I yielded to all that followed. A crucifixion is, after all, a crucifixion. The temple guards as one, they began to spit on me. Another blow, then another. The corridor was filled with mock laughter followed by mock sympathy. When that ceased to amuse them, they blindfolded me. Again I was hit hard with a fist, then another. Prophesy, Son of God. Tell us the name of the one who hit you. Now tell us the one about to hit you. Obscene words filled the room. The rope tied around my hands was fastened to a ring set in the wall. My clothes were removed, and the beating began. Lash followed lash as my back and legs turned red. Then my skin began to tear open. Soon, from my neck to my legs, I was a ribbon of ripped flesh. When they finally cut me down, the beating and the spittle continued. Just as Caiaphas ordered, my open wounds, which reached as deep as my bones, flowed with blood. My swollen face was sliced and tattered. I appeared to be far less than a human being. While lying on the floor, I could hear the Sandrian plotting their next move. We must take this blasphemer to Pilate in such a way that he must order immediate execution, they concluded. I was hauled before them and questioned again. They were hoping to find a greater charge against me. Not one among them cared for my tortured condition. The only answer I gave them was similar to the last. You will see me sitting at God's right hand. From there, I will return in the clouds. The entire Sandrian decided that that was enough, and in strengthened numbers, that they would march together over to Pilate's residence. I was forced to follow in fetters. I had been judged by the Jews. I was about to be judged by the heathen. As the Sandrians stepped into the Jerusalem streets, they met with a wall of celebrating humanity that blocked their passage. The guards pushed hard against the throng until finally they edged their way to Antonia's fortress. My lamb! See my lamb! Called out a child. The priest could find no flaw in him. Everywhere I looked, people were carrying a snow-white lamb. The stream of whiteness flowed steadily toward the temple. All that surrounded me seemed to take on a white purity. I also heard the bleating of lambs being led to slaughter. When a child caught a glimpse of my face, he cried out and ran in terror. Father, permit even this. Suddenly I heard a voice coming from a place not of this earth. My son, you have been judged by my chosen people. You were rejected by the Hebrews first. Always they are first. In a few moments you will be judged by all that there is of mankind that is not Hebrew. In doing so, you will fill up the condemnation of Adam's race. After that will come those creatures who live in places unseen. Then shall all judgment be complete, and salvation shall be to the uttermost. The voice faded as we arrived at Pilate's palace. The Sandrian filed into Pilate's outdoor courtyard in order not to make themselves unclean. I thought, arrest me without cause, try me illegally, rehearse false witnesses, then plot to murder me, yet all this does not make the Sandrian unclean? So it is with religious men. Why do you bring this man to me? Take him to the judge, and accordingly to your Hebrew laws. We want him dead, and you know that only a Roman can order a man's death. What is his crime? Asked Pilate impatiently. He is claiming to be a king. He is also inciting the people, telling them not to pay their taxes. Pilate, a superstitious man, only heard one word, king. He then ordered me inside the palace. Are you some kind of a king? I am. However, my kingdom cannot be seen. It is above, in a place where all things are invisible. Nonetheless, a king I am, and I came to this planet for that very purpose. Strange is it not that on this day the only person who would attempt to save me from death was a heathen governor. In the hours that followed, 5 times Pilate sought to save me from the Sandrian. Hearing their charges that I had stirred up people in Galilee, Pilate saw an opportunity. He blinked. Galilee? This man is a Galilean? Pilate turned to one of his assistants. Is not Herod in Jerusalem at his residence? He is. Aha! That old reprobate. If I know him, he is drunk and more. Quickly, send this man to Herod Antipas. Have him speak to the Galilean. As surely as I live, Herod knows of this man. Who knows? Perhaps he even knows the truth. In the utter dismay of the Sandrian, I was quickly ushered over to Herod, governor of Galilee. It was difficult for me to stand before that man. His father, Herod the Great, had sent thousands of babies to their deaths during the time of my birth, and Herod himself had ordered the beheading of my cousin John. I hear you are quite a magician. I hear you even perform miracles. Here, give me a sign. I looked away. I can have you set free, slurred Herod. Once more, I looked away. Herod was dismayed. He had looked forward to meeting me. I will waste no more time with this one, even if he claims to be a king. Hearing that I claimed to be a king, a soldier placed a purple robe across my shoulders. They jeered and mocked, calling me, King, King of the Jews. When this was no longer humorous, I was escorted back to Pilate. Just as we moved into the street, I heard Herod call out, Tell Pilate, this man has done nothing wrong. Seeing me again, Pilate announced, Herod concurred with me that this man is innocent. Searching again for a way out, yet underestimating the religious leaders' determination to kill me, Pilate declared, I will give you this man a good beating, then I will set him free. This only made the leaders more incensed. Their charges against me escalated. In the midst of all of the accusations against me, my silence stunned Pilate. The crowd pushed its way as close to Pilate as they could. At that moment, a guard handed a message from Pilate's wife. Have nothing to do with this innocent man. I had a terrible nightmare concerning him. More determined than ever to set me free, Pilate tried another possibility. I am about to set one man free, a murderer and an insurrectionist against Rome, or your king. Which is your preference? Pilate was nothing less than amazed at the response of the deeply religious and moral men. Give us Barabbas, they responded as one. Pilate breathed hard and thought to himself, surely if I bring out both men and the people see the hardened criminal and the beaten, swollen, half-dead body of the peasant, the Sandrian will relent. I was keenly aware that I was now on trial before the visible principalities. The chosen people must condemn me, and then the heathen would. And after that I must also stand before yet another tribunal and be rejected. Barabbas raised a clenched fist. Pilate grabbed his arm and called out, Will you have me release Barabbas, or Jesus, who you call the Messiah? One of the priests chanted, Barabbas! Barabbas! Release Barabbas! Pilate shouted angrily, Envy! All that is here is envy. I just told you that this man is not guilty. The leaders responded in kind. This man must die. Anyone claiming to be the Son of God must die. Aware that he was dealing with no ordinary man, when Pilate heard the word God, he panicked. Ordering me back into his residence, Pilate, with ashen face and trembling voice, demanded, Who are you? Do you not know that I have the authority to set you free or to crucify you? Say something. I replied, You are a government official, an envoy of Rome. Nonetheless, you have no authority. You have authority only because it is given you from my heavenly Father. Pilate again tried to release me. If you release Jesus, you are no friend of Caesar. This man claims to be a king and therefore is a rebel against Caesar, charged the Jewish leaders. Pilate returned to the judgment seat, and once more I stood before the mob. Pilate declared, Here is the man. I bring him to you, but you know that I do not find him guilty. The leading priests were the first to shout, Crucify him! Pilate retorted, What? Crucify your king? With lies and flattery on their tongues, men who utterly despised the Roman conquest were crying, We have no king but Caesar. I cannot believe this. This is turning into a riot. According to the Roman law, if a riot breaks out on a peaceful soil, the governor is sent back to Rome in shame, resigned to the injustice of the hour. Pilate called for a basin of water. Hear my word, Sandrian. I am innocent of this man's blood. You crucify him. The crowd cheered. Then let his blood be on our heads. The soldiers led me to a small room in the fortress called the Praetorium. The entire battalion had come to watch. Earlier, when I stood before Herod, his guards had placed a purple robe about me. Now, when the Roman guards, whose charge was to flog me, saw the robe of purple, they also mocked me with it. Once again, I was stripped naked. One soldier took several branches of thorns and wove them into a single thorn-encrusted wreath, while others cheered. The soldier rammed the crown of thorns onto my head, tearing into my scalp and forehead as he did. Once more, my blood was splattered everywhere. Next, they gave me a wooden stick, declaring, Behold your scepter. Rule, king, rule. I kneel before you, King of the Jews." Then they grabbed the stick and beat me with it. I had now been beaten by the heathens as well as the chosen. At last the flogging ended. My body was not so much wounded as it was a wound itself. They took me to the cells where the other condemned were awaiting their executions. Barabbas, who was being led out of the prison, passed my cell on his way to freedom. He stopped and looked in. Seeing my condition, he called out, "God, what have you done to this man?" "What we did?" replied a soldier. "We almost beat him to death, but he looked almost this bad when the Jews gave him to us. Nonetheless, be assured, Barabbas, we will see you back here in less than a week. We are laying bets we will get a second chance to crucify you." As they pushed Barabbas further down the hall, there was a brief moment when I was alone. I was shivering violently. "Where will it be?" asked one of the guards as they passed my cell. "On one of the hills overlooking Jerusalem, the one facing the temple. The high priest insisted on that particular place. He said that this man's last sight would be that of the entrance of the temple." "I'm not surprised. It has to be with a proverb." "A proverb?" "Yes, a Jewish proverb. When a man claims to be the Messiah, they say to him, 'Prove it by ripping down the temple veil.' If he can do that while hanging on a cross, I would be inclined to believe him myself," replied the soldier. "Are they to be hung on stakes or on a tree?" "There is a particular old tree up there on the crest of the Mount of Olives. It is dead, bleached white, and hard as stone. We can hang all three of them on the same tree." "What about the Patabula? Where are they?" "A local smith has made the nails and the crossbeams." The captain of the guard walked into my cell. "I doubt we will need 3 crossbeams today. That carpenter may not live long enough for us to hang him." Then the captain of the guard called out to some of the other soldiers, "What is that?" "It is his robe. We took it off when he first arrived here." The captain stared at it. "His robe? I have never seen anything like it. A robe with no seams?" "It was given to me by my mother," I replied. "He can speak?" said the captain, hesitating to even look in the direction of my voice. "After he is dead, you can gamble for it, but only after he is dead, not before. And let there be no fighting over his robe. Your charge is to crucify him, not to fight over his clothes. As I said, gamble for it." Lying there on the cold floor once more, I heard my father speaking to me. "Golgotha will become not only the place of your execution, my son, but the execution of the sin of the world. Furthermore, the cross of Golgotha will be the instrument for destroying all creation."